Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? I am just gonna give it a second. I'm actually trying to take this live on Instagram as well, and it looks like it's checking my connection. So hopefully, it's so funny, right? Like with your computer and your phone, they both like respond to the Wi-Fi differently. So no idea what's going on there. Oh, I know, maybe that's what it is. Let me just, hang on you guys, so sorry. Let's try this. I don't know why, but sometimes my phone doesn't pick up on the Wi-Fi as good as my computer does. Okay, anyway, just gonna jump in here, and we are talking about strength today. And I have actually, in the post here, I actually put some journaling prompts that I'll go over with you. We won't probably do them together, but I'm gonna go over them with you. And we're just gonna dive right in. So basically, excuse me, of course, right before I went live, I was like, there's Instagram, yay! I started feeling something in my throat. What's up, April? All right, so today's live is really inspired by a topic that I've been meditating on for a little while, because I was actually doing a pop-up class for Level Yoga, which I actually did this morning, and it was so much fun and just amazing, and I felt fantastic afterwards. I think the students would agree that they felt the same, but we definitely worked our butts off. But we called it Vinyasa for Strengthening, which of course got me really tuning into what does it really mean, to strengthen ourselves, and what does it really mean to be strong, right? What does strength mean? And if you know me and you've been following along with me for a while, you've taken my classes, then you know that I am passionate about not just the physical body, but the spiritual fitness and the mindset. And everything I do is tying all three of those things in together. So whether I'm coaching with clients and I'm working with them online or over the phone, whether it's a yoga client or a training client, whether I'm running groups or teaching classes, whether it's me showing up in my Aaron Lanahan Method online studio, it's never just about the physical strength, okay? That's a big part of it, but it's never just about that. That being said, I think some of us naturally feel more physically strong than others, right? Or some of us naturally feel more spiritually fit than others, or some of us naturally feel more mentally resilient, right, than others. And then there are those areas that we have to do a little bit more work around, right? But this topic today is really just for us to explore where we are, right, in terms of strength. And I think a good example of this is when all the COVID-19 stuff started to happen. If you guys are joining, just say hello. It's just nice to feel your energy here. But when it all started, those who felt strong, right? Those who felt physically strong, those who felt mentally resilient, right? Those who felt spiritually fit, they pretty much slid right into almost immediately pure positive energy around what was happening, right? They didn't, and if they did collapse, and they may have, right? But it wasn't for long, right? It was like almost immediate shift into what's the opportunity, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this? How can I make lemonade out of lemons? And that is how we deal with life when we feel strong. Okay, so I want you to imagine, right? So either you're on your yoga mat, okay, or you're in the gym, or wherever you move your body, you're in a dance class, wherever you move your body, you're on the football field, you're on the baseball field, you're in the soccer field. Again, just however you move your body, you're running, you're doing a triathlon. And there are things that we come up against. And I know with yoga, the students might be in a class and we throw out this idea to do a handstand or an arm balance. And a handstand is sort of something that I've become known for. And it's one of those things that most people see it and they immediately feel intimidated. Like, oh my God, I could never do that, right? And just think about that in our life. Like, you know, all the times where we're presented with an obstacle or a challenge, and it's kind of like, do you look at that obstacle or that challenge and go, you know, I might not really understand what this is yet or how to do this yet, but I actually know how to tap in to the thing that I need to navigate this with strength, right? Like, do you handle it like that, or do you go, oh my God, I'm just not strong enough for that, or I can't do that, or I'm not capable, or right? And I think we all probably, depending on what it is, we might express, you know, signs of both. So today I just really want to talk about, like, what is strength, right? What is strength? Why is it important? Where do we get it from? What isn't, like, what is it not? You know, what are the things that actually strengthen us, and then what are the things that can actually potentially weaken us? And I'll just start by just sharing really quickly a little bit about my story and my history and my past. I started off pretty young, mesmerized with movement, like just mesmerized. Like I would see people, you know, flipping around, doing gymnastics or on the trapeze or just doing crazy things like stunts and things like that. There's something called adagio where you work with, like, a male and a female work together as partners, and the male is sort of flipping the female around, very much like Dirty Dancing kind of type stunts. If you've seen that movie, you know what I mean. And anytime I would see stuff like that, I was absolutely mesmerized. Now, in hindsight, I am aware that the reason why I was so mesmerized is, for me, to me, that was like the embodiment of, like, mastery of one's self, right? Mastery of your physical body, like really exploring the potentiality of one's self. You know, that's what movement sort of symbolized for me, which is why I've been so in love with movement. When I was in college, I trained for my very first fitness competition, and I don't know if you guys know, some of you probably know what that is, some of you probably don't, but it's basically, it's not bodybuilding, okay, and it's not figure, it's it's sort of like a beauty pageant in a way with a fitness element, okay? So there's 3 parts, a 1-piece round, a 2-piece round, and then there's a routine round. Okay, so I'd been a cheerleader and a dancer, and I'd done all those things in the past, and this sort of brought it all together, right? Where you performed a 2-minute routine and you had to do things like 1-arm push-ups and, I mean, crazy stuff, right? They're judging you on this. And I remember that until I decided to do this fitness competition, I really would have looked at people like that, and I would have seen those routines, and in fact, this is what happened, and I would think, oh my gosh, that looks so freaking hard, right? How do they do that, right? But there was something in me at the time that craved that experience. Like, I wanted to feel strong like that, right? I wanted to feel like I didn't really it was hard for me to really believe that I could accomplish it, but there was something in me that said, I don't know how to do this yet. You know, I have no idea if I'll ever be able to do this, but I want to try, right? I want to try. I want to see what this is like. And so I went through the whole process and ended up, you know, competing, and I actually ended up winning, you know, that very first fitness competition. But what it taught me was the power of my mind. So even though it was a physical competition, technically it was a physical competition. It's all about your physical body. It's all about your physical strength. You can't achieve extreme levels of physical strength without an extremely strong mindset, right? Without resilience, without the ability to cope, the ability to navigate, you know, through challenges. And what started to come through for me even then was this spiritual connection. And that was what I would feel when I was moving, this connection to something bigger than myself. I didn't really have a name for it. Back then, I didn't feel the need to name it. I just knew that when I was moving my body, there was messages and there was insights and there was ways in which I was feeling inspiration just kind of naturally flowing into me. And it felt good, and I really, really liked it. Okay, but even though I had been a physical person, like, the act of trying something that I'd never done and saying, okay, I don't know if I can do this or if I'll ever be able to do this, but let me try and see what happens. And then seeing what happened when I used the power of my mind, right? When I would hit those obstacles, those days you wake up and you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it, whatever it is. You don't want to do the day. You don't want to do the workout. You don't want to eat the healthy food. You don't want to do it. right? And it would require this sort of reconnection back to the vision, right? What is the vision? What is the purpose? What is the plan? What am I moving toward right now? And it was the first time in my life I ever really experienced this. And what helped me so much back then was visualizing. I would imagine the competition itself, the day, the big day, on the stage. And I would imagine, and I would listen to the music that I was going to be doing my routine to, and I would just imagine, the thises and the that's. And I didn't know back then, the power of visualization. I had no idea. But I learned through experience how powerful that was, right? To tap into the strength of my own mind. So it's sort of like through the physical aspect, I learned about the importance of the physical mind, or the strength of your mind, right? And then through movement, I started to feel a spiritual connection, which also taught me about why that's important. So I want to talk a little bit about how just strength isn't just physical, strength. And I'm not telling you guys something that you don't know, right? But strength is always available to us. It's always there. Whether you're talking about physical strength, spiritual fitness, or, mental health, strength of the mind, resilience, the ability to cope, the ability to navigate, it's always there. But we got to tap into it, right? We got to tap into it. And sometimes there's roadblocks that are in the way. Sometimes and a lot of the time, for a lot of us, there are those limiting beliefs, those stories, right? Those programs, those ways in which that we've been conditioned to, for whatever reason, buy into this idea that I can't, right? This idea that I can't, this idea that I'm not this enough or that enough or strong enough or smart enough or whatever enough, right? That is something that we don't come into the world believing that, right? That's not our story when we get here. But somehow we pick that up, and that's a whole other conversation, how we pick that up, right? But we pick that up along the way, okay? And then when we get to a certain point in our life and we start to want to achieve something in particular, and maybe that's a physical goal, maybe it's a career goal, maybe it's a money goal, maybe it's a relationship goal, maybe it's a health goal. For the first time, we start to go, oh my God, I'm being confronted, right? I'm now being confronted by this limiting thing that I didn't even know I had, right? Because in order for me to get to this thing that I'm really wanting, I've actually got to move through this roadblock. I've got to get to the other side of this wall, right? I've got to kind of work through whatever this thing is that is withholding that thing that I want from my life, right? From my reality. And that's when we might start to do some of that internal work. That's when we might start to go work out and be consistent, or we might start to change the way that we eat, or we might, hire that mentor to help us work on our mindset, right? Or we might start to practice and connect to a God of our understanding and really start moving in that spiritual way, in our lives. So that's really point number one, is that strength it's spiritual, right? It's mental and it's physical. And I know that even when you're moving through a physical practice, the physical practice, and I like to think like when you get on your mat, like for example, today when I taught vinyasa for strengthening, it was a very challenging physical practice, And there are times throughout that really challenging physical practice, and I want you to kind of think of this in terms of life, right? There are times throughout our life, right? Or there are times throughout that hour on your mat that you're going to hit these moments where you start to give in to failure, right? You're starting to feel tired, right? You're starting to feel that belief is starting to come up that says, I don't know if I can keep going, right? That belief comes up that says, I don't know if I'm strong enough for this, right? Or a lot of times we're comparing ourselves to the teacher and like, oh, well, he's strong enough, maybe he can do it, or maybe she can do it. Like how many times we do that, right? We see somebody who accomplishes something and we say, well, yeah, they can do it, but they're them. Like I'm me, right? And so that's happening, throughout our lives. It's happening on the mat. And in order to keep moving, right? Because if we don't keep moving, what are we doing? We're getting stagnant, right? If we don't keep moving, we're collapsing, we're contracting, right? Which works against our natural state. Our natural state is to expand, right? Our natural state is to continue, right? To grow. Like the growth is never going to stop. It's never going to be over, right? The learning's never going to be over. The creating's never going to be over. There's always going to be more to learn, more ways in which we can grow, more things to create, right? That is never going to be complete, and it's not meant to be complete ever. Right? Which means if we're going to keep growing and expanding, we're going to keep coming up against those moments, those roadblocks, right? Where we start to go, I don't know if I have what it takes to keep going. I don't know if I can do this, right? I don't know if I can do this. So what do we do, in that moment? And I was taking people here through the flow this morning on the mat. As I said, very, very challenging physical flow. What the invitation was is that when you notice that come up, when that thing, however it shows up for you, starts to come up and starts to suck your energy out of you by saying things like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this, right? Physically. It's like, what if you could look at that objectively and say, but what if that actually isn't true, right? What if that actually isn't true in that moment or in this moment, right? What if that isn't true in this moment, okay? And actually, just trying it on, what would I prefer to look for right now, right? Am I gonna look for how tired I feel, or am I gonna look for how strong I am, right? Am I gonna look for all the muscles that are shaking, right, in my body right now? Am I gonna look for how awkward I might feel? Am I gonna look for that doubt that's coming up in me, or am I gonna look for my own strength, my own incredible strength? Am I gonna get curious, right, about like what's really possible in this moment? And what if I keep going, right? What if I keep going? What if I just keep digging a little bit deeper, right? What if I trust my body a little bit more, right? What if I were to believe in myself in this moment? What if I had radical, fierce ability, right, to own my power in this moment? What would that be like? Right? So it's like in those moments where that doubt comes up and we can apply, right, that technique of curiosity and really just kind of call it out. Like, is this even true? Is this even true? And what do I prefer, right? And that's that mental strength that I'm talking about. So you can kind of see how, right, the mental strength plays into our physical strength. And I want to kind of paint a little picture here when we start to feel weak, right? So for example, if we get afraid, notice this when you start to worry. Notice this when you worry about your loved ones, you start to worry about things and you go into fear. What does your body do? Right? What does your body do? Immediate shutdown, like immediate shutdown. Strength just leaves your body, right? It weakens you, right? And when we worry about our loved ones, and my mother taught me this a long time ago, she said, Erin, when you worry about the people that you love, you make them weaker. Because you're buying into this story that they're not capable. And you can contribute to their life in whatever way you want, and you can buy into the story that they're absolutely capable, or you can buy into the story that they're not capable, right? One is going to strengthen them and one is going to weaken them. Which one do you want it to be, right? And it's the same with ourselves, right? If we buy into a story that's full of fear, a story that makes us go like this, right? It's weakening us. How can that be the solution? How can that help? How can that help, right? And now if we have that sort of spiritual strength, we have that spiritual fitness, we have that ability to tune in and like connect, right, to a higher wisdom. Well, that helps too, because now it's like you feel, okay, it's not all on me, right? I don't have to figure it all out by myself. I don't have to come up with this incredible amount of strength that I currently don't feel like I have, right? But I can tap into the source of infinite strength. I can tap into the source of infinite strength that is available, right? So when we're working towards that spiritually fit life, we're tapping into the infinite source of strength, the infinite source of energy, the infinite source of joy. So we're no longer looking for that somewhere else, right? Because this is the next thing that makes us weak. When we sync up, when we try to sync up with someone else, All right, that was something else that was coming up on the mat today. What I kept kind of seeing for my students is, and I wanted to encourage them and really extend this invitation, was when you try to move at someone else's pace because you think you should, it weakens your authentic strength. Okay, so what I want to invite you to do is figure out what your authentic pace is. Could be faster than me, right? I could be slowing you down. Could be slower than me. That doesn't mean you're weaker. Doesn't mean you're weaker, right? So don't sync up with me. Don't sync up with anyone. Don't pace yourself according to someone else's pace. Figure out what that is for you, right? Figure out what that is for you. And so when we feel spiritually connected, right? We feel physically strong. We feel mentally resilient. Like, I just want you to take a moment and imagine that, right? And when COVID happened, or anything for that matter, we lose a loved one, somebody we loved gets sick, we get let go from a job, you know, shit happens all the time in life that sucks, you know, shit happens all the time in life that sucks. So strength is about getting good at life, right? It's not about having the perfect body or being this perfect spiritual being or being like this mental warrior, right? It's about being good at life. It's about getting good at life. It's about, you know, being able to navigate through the tough times. It's about continuing to grow and learn and expand with grace. It's about having more love, you know, for ourselves. It's about having more love and forgiveness towards ourselves and also towards, you know, one another, right? But when we feel weak and we feel shut down and we're caught in the energy of fear, that is very challenging to do, right? So I just want to say that again, fear weakens us, okay? Notice that, right? When you're starting to feel afraid, what happens? You collapse. And I want to share this dream that I used to have reoccurring. I'm going to try to wrap this up, but this dream that I used to have, and it was about me being on the front lines, like in a war. And the dream was terrifying for me because basically it kind of embodied like one of my worst fear, right? Of like being faced with this terrifying situation and not feeling ready, not feeling capable. So basically what would happen in the dream is like, I was just dead before I even got there. I mean, literally fear killed me. I just died from fear. I'm not kidding. Like, that's what happened because I got so shut down in the dream, right, from the fear of what I was about to have to do, right? And so that dream, even though it kind of haunted me for a while, it was like, what the heck is this dream and why does this keep coming up for me? But now I really understand that, like, yeah, that's really what life is, right? Things are gonna happen that you don't feel ready for. Things are gonna happen that you're scared, you know, you're scared to face. So what can you do now to make sure that when those moments come along, you've got it. You've got the resilience. You've got the spiritual fitness. You've got the physical well-being, okay? You trust your body trusts you. You know that you know how to tap into that infinite source, right? That infinite source of energy, that infinite source of strength, that infinite source of everything that's available to you. It doesn't come from another human. It doesn't come from the earth. It comes from source, right? Source energies. We don't have to keep trying to take, right? We can tap in and actually bring more of that, right? Bring more resources to the planet, right? By tapping into the infinite source. And then just kind of also reminding you too that anytime, right, we're trying to sync up with someone else, anytime we're trying to work at someone else's pace, anytime we're buying into a limitation, right, you're going through your workout and you're on that 10th squat, you've got 30 more to go, right, or you're doing those mountain climbers and you have another minute to go, or you're doing those push-ups and you're starting to feel your arms shake. It's like, that is an example. You're in a little laboratory for life. You're in a little laboratory. And I had a teacher once that would say, this is your moment, right? This is your moment. This is where you get to retrain your nervous system so it knows how to deal with stress, right? So that it doesn't flood you with chemicals and fight or flight, right? So that you don't start to shut down and contract, but you go, I am going to fucking rise to the occasion, right? And it was like, that was the question I started asking about that nightmare dream of being on the front lines, right? In this war situation, was like, what would it be like if I were in that situation and I was able to rise to the occasion, right? I would certainly have a better chance of living and maybe even saving other lives, right? So, well, what would that be like? What would that be like? And what do I need to do today in this moment and one day at a time, you know, to be that warrior, to be that energy in my life? Okay, so lastly, let's see here. Yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of the message. Without strength, right? Without strength of the mind, which is the resiliency, right? And I don't mean like headstrong, like stubborn. That's not what I mean by mental strength. What I mean is actually like flexibility in your mind, right? It's that resilience. It's that ability to navigate. This is why meditation and stuff like that is so good, because you're never going to quiet your thoughts. Like, that is a myth. Not going to happen. Just like your heart beats, your mind thinks. Okay, so you're not doing it wrong if you're meditating and you're still having thoughts. What meditation does is it creates space, right? It creates space between you and the noise, right? So like, imagine if you don't have space, right, between you and the noise, it's like your boundaries are being bombarded by the noise. You have no space, right? But if you can create space, then you've got you and this space, and then the noise is there, and you can actually make conscious decisions. You can make better choices because you've got space, right? So just remember that, you know, if we're not feeling mentally resilient, you know, spiritually strong and physically strong, because this is important too, you got to move your body, right? If those muscles are starting to weaken, it's going to send messages. Your body is so brilliant. And if it's starting to weaken, it's going to let you know. I mean, it's going to let you know. And so there's a very good chance that you will not feel as strong in your life and in certain situations just because your physical body doesn't feel strong, right? And I think a lot of us, you know, we've been sort of on the fitness path for a while. I mean, I know for me that was where it all started, right? Physical strength came first. And then it tapped me in to kind of that spiritual connection. And then it also started to kind of teach me about the mindset, right? The mindset, right? Because they all play into each other. They all work together. So I just want to let you guys know that there is some journaling prompts up here in this post, okay? So what are they here? What makes you strong, right? Like, what makes you feel strong, okay? And you can look at that like physically, mentally, spiritually. What doesn't make you feel strong? Like, what thoughts, what beliefs, what activities, right? What are the things that actually feel like they weaken you, they suck your energy, they take from you? Do you think strength is only available to some people, or do you feel like it's available to everyone, right? What are your current beliefs about your own strength? What does strength mean to you? Because that's important to define that for yourself. What does that mean to you? Where would you like to feel even stronger in your life? And what are you willing to do to cultivate that, okay? What are you willing to do to cultivate that, right? And it's like, if you want that physical body, and I started off personal training people, and then I realized that even though I could give them a program and they could listen to me and they could do what I asked them to do and they could get results after 3 months, right? Change their whole body. If they didn't change their insides, then they walk away from me and they just go back to the way that they were, right? Or some people actually couldn't even, like, I could tell them exactly what to do, but they wouldn't be able to even follow what I was saying because there were too many roadblocks that were preventing them from even doing, right, what they needed to do to get those results, okay? And it was really, that's what led me into coaching. That's what led me into yoga and spirituality, was I wanted to see people achieve the results that they were looking for in their lives, but I wanted to see them achieve it in a way that was sustainable and something that they could maintain, right? I don't want them to be dependent on me forever. I want them to go out in the world, right, and be an empowered human, right? Loving humans, love other humans, and hurt humans, hurt other humans. So my little drop in the kind of the ripple effect of the greater good is to create a good human, and they'll go out and create more good humans, right? So if you guys are loving my content, if you like this sort of thing, I'm gonna leave 2 comments here. One is for my donation yoga classes, okay? So I'm still teaching 3 classes a week that are free of charge. They are donation basis. You don't even have to donate, okay? So the donation is obviously, of course, it's something I would appreciate, but it's definitely not expected. So these classes are there to support people mentally, spiritually, and physically as we're all just transitioning and trying to come out of this even better, right, than we went into this whole COVID-19 thing, right? We're gonna come out even better, all right? But we gotta stay focused on that. So I'm going to put that link down here. You can get onto my email list, okay, to start receiving notifications of those classes and the links so that you know how to join. Okay, one is actually happening today at 5:30 p.m. So if you hurry up, you can actually get into that class at 5:30 p.m. And if you want even more class variety from me, you know, weight circuit training, cardio core sessions, vinyasa strengthening sessions, chair workouts, more yoga, more meditation, more journaling stuff, more of the spiritual fitness stuff, more of the mindset stuff. I'm gonna pop that link here too, okay? So that's just to the E.L.M online studio where we do all of that, all right? So those 2 links will be here. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you watch this video, if you're with me, I see a lot of you are actually here with me, just let me know, you know, what came up for you, what was that like for you, what are your thoughts? If you do the journaling prompts, I would love to hear what you saw, what came up for you. If you're on Instagram, you can actually go into the my profile, my bio, and if you click the link in my bio, that'll take you to my Erin Lanahan Method online studio. And I'll actually put a link in the comments for the free class schedule. It's always a pain in the butt with Instagram because it's not a clickable link, but I'll put it there anyway. So, all right, you guys, thanks so much for coming. Thanks for being here, and that was fun. So let me know what that was like for you, and I will see hopefully maybe some of you in class tonight at 5:30 p.m. All right, bye for now.